My name is Jean Withers, and I'm conducting my interview with.
Shane Wright, and I give my permission to be part of the Gender Stories Project.
What is your gender?
um, I don't know. That's a good question. My gender is queer. My gender is um, complicated. My gender is flexible and fluid, and yeah, it's my gender is a lot of things, but it's definitely not a binary.
How do you feel about your gender?
Um, Sometimes I feel good about it. Sometimes I feel um, like it's this kind of a big fu to the whole world. Sometimes I feel really crappy about it, like I have to hide who I am, or I'm not respected, or it's not acceptable to be what my gender is.
How did you learn about gender growing up?
Um, well, I mean, I think the obvious answer is I learned it through everything. So you learn it through, the baby clothes that you're wearing, through the toys that you're given, the roles that you see your parents taking. I think it's interesting and unique. So my mom was divorced before I was even born. She remarried when I was about 5, and those roles kind of shifted for me. Then being a woman meant a lot of things. It meant you could have your hair short. It meant that you liked camping. It also meant that you liked getting your nails done. Being a woman just meant a lot of different things, and it stopped just being, you know, what we typically think of as like women are supposed to be and men are supposed to be. And so I think having a lesbian as a mother, and having such a variety of women as um, my mom's partners really influenced what I thought women could be, and I think really changed what I thought, like who I thought I was, and if I liked doing those things, that just meant that I was butch, not necessarily that I was um, a man. Does that make sense?
All right. And what if you learned about gender as an adult or a teenager entering adulthood?
Um, so this kind of wraps back around. So when I was a kid, I thought that like who I was and what my gender was just a part of the variety of what being a woman was. And when I got older and I learned what trans was, and I learned that people don't necessarily know from the time they're 2 years old. They don't necessarily know that they're trans from the time they're in the womb or whatever. People learn and grow um, their gender and who they are throughout their whole life, and that many people come out later in life, and I didn't think that was an option. I didn't think anybody did that, and that if I didn't know since I was 5 that I wasn't truly trans. And so like when I learned that as an adolescent, as an adult, um, I learned that that was, I applied that to my life, and I was like, that is who I am. And I wasn't allowing that because I thought that I wasn't like truly trans, and um, so I think that inhibited my expression of gender and my exploration of who I was and who my gender is. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I mean, my next question is how is what you learned about gender as an adult influence you now as an adult?
Um, well, I mean, in multiple ways. So one, it allowed me to explore my gender more and come out as trans, and continue to explore that over and over again, and not just like, you know, eh, it's so typical, especially for trans men, to come out and like get super butch and um, like go to the extreme, go very masculine, and of course I did that also. But then just to keep evaluating, keep exploring my gender, and realize that who I am and where I am on the gender is not exactly. I don't identify as male. I definitely don't identify as female. But if people are going to put me in a box, I get to choose what that box looks like, and that decision goes through the kind of clothes that I wear and whether or not I take hormones. Um, what I tell people, how the vocabulary and mannerisms that I have. I'm using my hands a lot as I say that, but it's just all of those things that I learned about those, and I now apply them back to who I am and how I feel and how I can be perceived. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. All right, well, thank you for taking the time to interview me today.